sometimes these really busy spots in the national parks, it's like, ugh, I don't even want to try to fight through crowds and stuff. But there's always a reason that they're as popular as they are. And Shark Valley, for me, was the highlight. I was like, I know, like, we had to try to get parking and, you have to wait in line and the gate was closed. And anyway, there's a lot of things that go into visiting Shark Valley, but it was 150% worth it. This is the Exploring the National Parks podcast with Dirt in My Shoes. My name is Ash, and I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes. I think that the parks are best seen from the trail, and I'm here to make national park trip planning easy.
And I'm John. I carry the kids on the trails, I tell stories, and notice all the things that Ash doesn't care about much, like rocks.
Join us as we show you around America's spectacular national parks.
We're sharing our favorite places, fun facts, adventures, and misadventures.
And we'll even throw in a little trip planning.
Let's start exploring. Hey everybody, today we're talking about the Everglades. I'm so excited to be here with Ash. We're talking about some fun Everglades adventures.
I'm so excited for this. We have some fun stories that we want to share.
I love this place. So many great things. Like if you're listening, tuning in, this is a great place to visit. Some really unique adventures you can have in the Everglades. And we wanted to share a few of our favorites. Maybe something that you could find time on your vacation if it's something that sounds interesting to you.
Yep. And misadventures as well.
Misadventures for sure.
Things that have gone wrong, things that did not go according to plan, things that I would not do again.
Yes.
So, yeah, let's jump right in and get started talking about our favorite stories from the Everglades.
Sure. What would you say is, well, I don't know if we're doing these in order of rankings, but what's your first story that you wanted to, that came to mind when we were talking about the Everglades?
Well, the first thing I thought of, and this is not a story, but this is just, it took us a long time to even visit the Everglades. And so I wanted to mention this because typically, like, I don't like to say I have a favorite, least favorite park. I don't like to rank them.
Right.
But Everglades was so low on my list. I had no desire to visit the Everglades.
Right.
And so we didn't. We didn't for a really long time.
No, I think our favorite winter park was always Death Valley.
Yeah, and I love Death Valley. I love Death Valley so much. But we found another great winter park to visit. But I did just want to mention, I think sometimes you think that you should like them all, or you need to be excited about everything. Yep. And Everglades was not that way for me at all. I kept getting people like emailing me being like, when are you gonna post stuff about the Everglades? And I'm like, never. Never will I ever.
It's so far away. Well,
and I don't do well in humidity. I don't like the heat. I get really grumpy when it's hot outside.
No.
Yeah, well, I've gotten worse over the years too. I feel like 70 degrees is like my limit now. But yeah, so it was that plus so I lived in Hawaii for a little while, and I know that places that stay warmer get more bugs and bigger bugs. And so that was a part of just not wanting to go to the Everglades. Like, I just don't want to deal with the bugs, and I hate bugs so much.
When you think that the Everglades is a giant swamp, with the mosquitoes, the size of little tiny kid dump trucks, so that it's just doesn't seem appealing to visit.
Yeah, like it never was anywhere that I was excited about.
Right.
So I did want to mention that, and also that I was totally wrong. And almost from the moment that we got to the Everglades, I realized my mistake.
Yeah.
That it was awesome. Like from the get-go, we saw an alligator on the Anhinga Trail, and it was like, oh my gosh, this place is so cool.
It was so much fun from the beginning, and our expectations were completely shattered when we got there, and it was just so much fun exploring a place that we thought that we understood but really didn't.
Yeah. So I do recommend, just even if there's parks on your list that, it's like, well, it's a national park, so I need to go there eventually. Sometimes those can be the most surprising.
Yes.
The ones that you don't have high expectations for.
Yeah, I feel like that's the solution to happiness, right? Low expectations, and then things will surprise you. That's why our marriage is so good. That's why she married me. Low expectations, and I've really turned out.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew life could be so good? So, okay, that's just the first thing I wanted to say about the Everglades. Now we can jump into real stories.
Okay, sounds good.
So what's something you want to share?
Okay, so I feel like we should get started with the big one. And I feel like the big one, we've talked about it on a few other episodes, but like the one thing that I knew I wanted to see when I was going to the Everglades was alligators and crocodiles. And so Shark Valley literally was my favorite adventure on like the whole, like I knew that's what I wanted. I wanted to go there. I wanted to do it. But the tram experience was so much different, so much better than I thought it would be. I feel like we ramped it up really big, like for the kids. And then we got there really early, you know, because we were trying to beat traffic because it's a pretty busy spot. And then we get there, we jump on the tram, and like we didn't see any alligators because they take you on like the total wrong direction to see alligators for the first half of the tram ride. I don't know. I thought that was super funny.
Yeah.
Well,
reflection. I mean, we talked about that in a previous episode where it's like, why did we start here? So we'd be excited about the one alligator on this side and, you know, not be excited about the 80 alligators
exactly,
at the end.
So the tram, it takes you out to the Shark Valley Observation Tower, and it's a circle basically, so it's a loop, and they take you the left loop first, and then they bring you back on this main road where there's a lot of bikers. Well, for the whole first loop, it was pretty early in the morning, and so we're just shivering listening to the person talk about wood storks, you know, and we're stopping for wood storks. And I was like, I was promised alligators. Why did I get up so early with the kids to come out here, freeze my butt off, look at a bunch of grass, and see some birds that I can see basically at home, you know? That was my expectation for the first half of the Shark Valley tram ride.
That doesn't sound like you. That sounds like me.
Yeah,
that sounds like something I would whine about. So I'm glad you admitted that.
Yes,
you're humanizing yourself a little bit there.
Yeah, a little bit. So, but then on the second half, that's when. Well, first of all, when we get to the Shark Valley Observation Tower, there's a bunch of alligators that live there, and so we were just like, "Wow, this is the best," you know. Pointing everything out to the kids and, you know, making them hike up to the top of the tower. And then, you know, then we see a bunch of alligators on the way back. You know, it was pretty darn awesome.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes these really busy spots in the national parks, it's like, ugh, I don't even want to try to fight through crowds and stuff. But there's always a reason that they're as popular as they are. And Shark Valley, for me, was the highlight. I was like, I know, like, we had to try to get parking and, you know, you have to wait in line and the gate was closed. And anyway, there's a lot of things that go into visiting Shark Valley, but it was 150% worth it.
Oh, yeah. It was amazing. And seeing the alligators at Shark Valley was kind of like how seeing bears up in Jasper National Park in Canada is, you know, where you're so excited to see bears. And so the first time you see a bear, you pull the car over and you spend like 20 minutes just watching it graze on berries, kind of a thing. But then as you keep driving, you realize when you're in Jasper, there's a bear every 5 miles. And so eventually you just stop, you know, stopping, and your kids are like no longer looking out the window and they're just coloring on their books, and you're just like it's no longer a big deal because you've seen so many bears. And it kind of gets that way on this tram ride because it's just alligator after alligator after alligator. It's like they've set up like their little territories and they're every like 50 meters. It's kind of crazy. So you see one that often.
Yeah, but I never got to the point where I was like, I don't want to see another alligator.
Yeah, it's true. It's not like I didn't want to see them.
Yeah, like I was excited for every single one, but the tram driver was not. He's probably seen a million alligators in his lifetime, and he did not want to stop for all of those alligators.
Right.
So,
Well, he's like a guy in one of those old movies at the train station. He's like, we got to keep this thing moving.
Yeah.
You know, we got a train to Bristol, you know, at 3:00, or I don't know where Bristol is, where that came up. But yeah, it's that they have another tram. They got to get going. And so they just keep moving past all the alligators.
yeah. Well, and so we have young kids, and we didn't take our bikes to the Everglades.
Right, because they're perfect bite-sized morsels for some of these crocs.
And
they roll off their bike right into a mouth.
And our younger son doesn't know how to ride a bike. He just barely learned.
Right.
And so we didn't bike through Shark Valley, but I think that's what I'd do next time. I think it's worth taking the tram, especially if you can't bike, because it's like 12 miles.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a pretty long distance.
Yeah, it's not short. So, you know, to do that, do the tram ride because it's totally worth it. But then when we go back, now that our kids are older, we'll bike it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you can just go on the cool part of the loop in the first place, see all of the cool alligators, and, you know, you can take your time. If you see one that has babies, you can stop, you know, take some really cool pictures and just take it a leisurely bike ride. That would be a blast.
Yeah. So, okay. So I want to talk about something else that was also like really high on the to-do list.
Okay.
And that's the airboat rides.
Yes. Those are so cool.
Are they though?
Well, okay. This is why they're so cool. It's because they're so iconic. I loved the airboat tour, even though it wasn't as fun as I kind of thought it would be. So let's set the setting up a little bit. So the airboat tours in the Everglades are kind of restricted to a very specific section of the park. Like they don't just have free reign and they can go anywhere in the park, because even though they're designed to do less damage than any other form of transportation kind of in the park, you know, in terms of like getting places fast, they're still pretty restricted and they kind of have their set up routes. And so as you'll get in your airboat, you know, you'll be sitting in an airboat probably with like 20 other people or something like that, right? And then they take you out into the Everglades, but they pretty much know they have a perfect exact route that they go on for every tour. And so it's not like a four-wheeling adventure, you know, on an airboat. They take you out, they bring you back in, you see a few things, but you don't see nearly as many alligators as you will, like if you have a good day on the Anhinga Trail or on Shark Valley, not even close. But it's just so iconic. You know, it's like getting a Philly cheesesteak sandwich in Philadelphia. You know, you go on an airboat tour when you're in the Everglades.
Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. And it was fun. It was fun. I think for me, it was too short. We saw like one alligator, which is fine. It's super loud, so they give you earplugs, so you can't really talk to anyone or anything. You know, you're just like whizzing through. And yes, like I do think you should do it for sure.
Right.
If you've never done it, you should do it. Make sure though, there's like certain companies that are authorized to operate in Everglades National Park, and you'll want to sign up with one of those companies because of the environmental influence and problems that they can cause with the airboats. So just keep that in mind. But I think for me, so the reason that I bring up the airboats, yes, they are super iconic and they're really fun. And that's what everybody wants to do in the Everglades. But the reason that I bring them up is because, and maybe this is why like I wasn't super excited about them, because I had been reading about how many people get injured.
Injuries on the airboats?
Injuries and deaths on the airboats.
Seriously?
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't know that.
So, yeah.
I feel like these are Darwin Award winners, if you know what I'm talking about.
No, I mean, no. So there's not a lot of regulation, or at least for a long time, there was not a lot of regulation in the airboat industry. And so they kept having accidents. And it would topple over, right? You know, and people would, and it's not like the water there is like super deep or anything, but like people have died on the airboats. And so I like freaked myself out. And so the whole time I'm sitting there, and it was like, it felt like way faster than I was thinking it was going to be.
Yeah, they're cruising on that thing.
And the only thing that I could think of was like, I'm going to die today. I think I'm going to die on this airboat today.
It's like a Mission Impossible movie when the helicopter like turns to the side and the fan just like creates a giant explosion. 'Cause that's kind of what you pictured happening to us.
I just I just got in my head. That's part of the problem of like doing too much research.
Yeah.
Because as I was like researching for airboat stuff before our first trip, I didn't realize, first of all, that they're extremely controversial in the area. Mm-hmm. Some people just want to get rid of them completely, and they are really loud and they do disturb the environment. And, and that's why there's only certain places that they're allowed to go now.
Right.
Which is great. But like, anyway, so they're controversial, and like all of them were saying like, well, yeah, the environment, but also people die, I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to go on this. And so I totally like got in my head and freaked myself out. And I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I should have. Just because I was like...
You were freaked out the whole time? I didn't know that. You never shared that with me?
We couldn't talk because it was so loud.
It's true. We were wearing those earmuffs. And
I was trying to be brave. Mm-hmm. Like, I totally believe, like, I can get into my head so much.
Right.
And that's something, probably as this podcast keeps going, people will start to notice about me. I do. I get into my head. I freak myself out. I'm naturally a worrier. Mm-hmm. And so I was trying not to be worried. Like I knew that I was being a little bit ridiculous. And so that's why I didn't mention it to anybody, because I was like, nope, I'm going to get over this. Like, I'm going to do this. But yeah, I did have some extra anxiety pretty much the whole airboat ride.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I was pretty glad when it was over. I didn't know that.
I think you were sitting next to our youngest and just holding on to him. And now I know why you were holding so tight, because you were thinking that your child was going to get flung out of the airboat, which I mean, yeah, I guess there were accidents. I didn't know that happened. I felt totally safe. Everyone listening, it was just fine for me.
It did feel safe. That's what I'm saying. Like, I totally get into my head.
Right.
And here's the other thing too, and something else that I thought was really funny about our first trip to the Everglades. We had gone to Disney World first. Mm-hmm. So we spent 3 days at Disney World, and then we went down to the Everglades. And when we were at Disney World, our kids, like, we went like on the Jungle Cruise and stuff like that. And our kids are like, Mom, is that real? Like, I felt like they kept asking us, while we're in Disney World, things that they were seeing, like, is that real? Mm-hmm. And then we get down to the Everglades and they were like doing the same thing. Whereas like we see an alligator and they're like, is that real? Like, they're all confused that, their reality has been shifted because they've seen all these fake things in Disney.
Right. And they haven't been afraid of anything. And so they're bringing that same attitude to the Everglades where things are real.
Yeah. Well, and then it made the experience in the Everglades more fun for me because I realized, like, I love being somewhere that's like not fake.
Right.
Like, we're having real adventures out here. We're doing things with real risks. Yep. Real dangers. Like, that is a real bird. That is a real alligator, and so
real legit adventure.
Yeah. And so for me, that made the Everglades even more cool, I feel like. Mm-hmm. But then also, and this is why it comes back to like the airboat ride and stuff. It was like when I got on that airboat and I was like, this thing's not on a track. Like, it could just do whatever it wants.
Well, and then the guy, at least, I don't know if you call him the pilot or the boat captain, because but anyways, he does a few fun maneuvers.
Yeah, I didn't like those.
It was awesome. He was just doing like a couple of donuts basically in his airboat. And he likes, at least the guy that we had, kind of likes to slide, up onto... not onto things, but like slide towards things he wants to show you to the sideways. And it was pretty fun. But now that I know that you were scared, I realized now that it was riskier for you than it was for me.
Well, anyway, that's what I kept thinking during the airboat ride. I was like, this thing's not on a track. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm feeling my humanness a little bit here, where I was just like, oh yeah, because I love roller coasters and I love stuff like that. Like, I don't get scared on those.
Right.
But for some reason, that first trip to the Everglades, that first airboat ride, I like could not get out of my head the fact that it was not on a track and it was not a roller coaster.
Right. Well, it's such a cool contraption, right? The airboat. I don't know. For me, it's kind of like it's a relic of a bygone era. You know, if you ever see like any funny videos from like the early 1900s or like late 1800s where people were like trying to figure out fun, you know, creative ways to transport people. You know, you've got like that weird bike with a huge one wheel up front and then that teeny tiny one in the back. Or I saw one where it's like a guy sitting under an umbrella that's going up and down really fast and trying to make him airborne. Or
when do you look at these?
I don't know. I just have seen them. But I don't know. There's just like, I feel like the airboat, somebody was like, okay, how can we make a canoe faster? You know? It's like a bicycle helicopter. Let's attach a helicopter to the back of a boat and let's see what happens. You know, instead of having it in the water, we'll have it in the air. It's a cool contraption. I don't know. I think it's so much fun. I love it. So an airboat is an actual fun adventure. It's pretty cool, but maybe it's not like you're on an all-day airboat tour adventure in the Everglades because, like I said before, they kind of have a set time frame and a set route, you know. And luckily for me, because I hate spiders, it's well trodden enough that there's not giant spider webs going into your face while you're going through all the reeds and all the grasses and stuff. So it's great. I loved it. Yeah. People should do it.
People should do it. Hey, just don't read the research on them before you go. If you're someone who naturally worries or thinks about all those things, just go and have fun. Don't get in your head, because that's something I would definitely change if I could. I would have loved to have my first experience on an airboat not be something that scared me.
Right.
So
yeah. It's true. It's very true. Plus, some of those airboat places have like their own, like they have a few not domesticated, but they have a few alligators that you can see up close to. And so it's kind of fun. We enjoyed that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a fun experience. So I definitely would do that again.
Yeah.
Just, you know, get in the proper frame of mind first.
Yes, definitely. Okay. One thing that was totally a surprise for me, not my next adventure, was the Nike missile base. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I loved that.
That was so interesting and so out of place. You're driving around seeing a bunch of wildlife and a whole big sea and river of grass, basically. And then you realize, oh, there was a military installation right here in the Everglades, right? They built it right after the Cuban Missile Crisis. It was crazy.
That's when I realized, like, I don't know if I just, like, didn't look at a map or something, but, like, when we went to the Nike missile base and they were talking about, you know, the Cuban Missile Crisis and everything, and I was like thinking to myself, where's Cuba?
Yeah.
It's like, I looked at a map and I was like, my gosh, Cuba's right there. I didn't realize it was so close to Florida. And anyway, so it was just like, it was fun to learn something completely new for me. Like, I love history and I love stuff like that, but I don't know a lot. So I'm always excited to learn, but it's not something that I'm like really knowledgeable about. And so that was really fun. That was a really fun surprise.
Okay. So for people who have no idea what we're talking about, to kind of give a little bit of background and maybe a little bit of context. So after World War II and stuff, you know, people realized, okay, we need to figure out a way to defend ourselves against, you know, a bomb being dropped or something like that. And so there was this surface to air missile program that the U.S. instituted and built basically to protect us from someone flying a plane over, you know, one of our cities and dropping a nuclear bomb, basically. And so there were like 300 or something of these little bases spread all throughout the country. And there was one right here in the Everglades. And so they were called the Nike Ajax or the Nike Hercules missiles. And like I said, they were medium range anti-aircraft missiles. These specific missiles could go like 87 miles. They could shoot down anything that was kind of within an 87-mile range. And so it was really just protecting South Florida in case something happened, you know, between the Soviets, you know, and Cuba and us. And so it was crazy. And they still have a few of those missiles there for you to walk around and see.
Yeah, that was really fun. That was a big surprise. I really enjoyed learning about that. And the volunteers. So I love going to places like that because I feel like you get some really cool volunteers in those areas. And so there are people who don't work for the Park Service. They're not actually park rangers, like paid, but they volunteer and they are giving their own time because it's like a passion or a hobby for them. And so you just like, when you talk to those people, you get totally different, like they've spent a lot of time loving this stuff, you know, and
or
so
living it.
Yeah.
Some of these dudes were old.
Yeah.
And they were, you could tell some of them were like, could have told us stories, but they were probably confidential or top secret.
Yeah. So I love going to places like that when I'm in the national parks too, because I feel like the volunteers are so cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and this Nike system that they built, it was the most expensive missile system that we've ever had in the United States, and the longest lived missile system. It was for over 25 years that they had these people. There was 140 guys living here with these 3 missile barns at like a constant state of readiness for like 25 years.
That's
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. That was so fun.
Yeah. So that was a really cool experience. Our kids were just like, what in the... This is a missile? Because, you know, when you see them watching Top Gun or something like that on your TV, you know, you see a missile getting shot from plane to plane, and it's like, you know, the missile is no bigger than your thumb on the TV screen, depending on how big your TV is. But these are huge. It was bigger than a truck. And I'm just imagine it shooting through the air. I don't know. So cool. It was really neat to see it in person and walk around it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. Let's talk about the Gator Grill.
Yes. The Gator Grill was so much fun. That is one of the best Everglades experiences.
Okay, so the Gator Grill is right outside of Homestead. It's like on your way into the park from Homestead. And it's a gator grill. So they serve up alligator. I remember the first time we stopped there and we looked at the menu and I was just like, blah, blah. Like, I don't want to eat any of this. It was so much
fun. I'm pretty adventurous with food. Like, even though like every time we go to Olive Garden, I'm just like, I want lasagna. But I feel like any other place where I'm not familiar with the food, I'm just like, give me whatever and I'll eat it. And it's so much fun.
So we ordered gator nuggets, which were super good.
Delicious. Alligator is so good.
Yeah, so those were good. The thing that threw me, and this is where I just like, okay, I can't do this anymore, was the frog legs.
Yes, frog legs. Blech. I also did not really enjoy them, but I ate them all because I felt like I needed to. Because, I don't know, if you ever eat meat and you're just like, I'm not still hungry, but I don't want to let this food go to waste, because the frog legs actually look like frog legs. You feel bad not eating all the food.
They did. They just looked like they just like chopped them right off the frog. It still looked like a leg. I took one look at those and I was like, nope, can't do it. And I did try a bite because I didn't want to leave without trying it, but it was like super slimy and it was exactly what you would think a frog would be.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like they should not saute the frog legs. I think we talked about that. I think they fried the gator nuggets. I feel like they should also fry and like bread the frog legs to give them a little bit less of a squirmy texture.
Well, okay. And do you remember when we came home from that trip? Because my dad is from Florida and he has a lot of family still in Florida. So, and we're like backwoods, hillbilly Florida, not like the rich, we're just going to sit on the beach Florida.
Right. This is the strap your grandma's armchair to the top of your car so that she can drive on, you know, that's how grandma travels, that kind of hillbilly. So
anyway, so we get home and we're talking to my dad about the trip and we mentioned that we ate alligator and we ate frog legs. And he was like, oh, how were the frog legs? And I was like, oh, they were pretty like slimy and stuff. And he was just like, well, how were they prepared? And I was like, well, I think they were just like sauteed in butter. And he's like, no, you can't serve frog legs like that. And he's like he has all this knowledge of like eating frog legs, which he probably does.
Oh, yeah. Well, apparently the locals, the way you hunt frogs with a tool called a gig. and a gig is like a stick that you kind of break one end of it, and so you've got the wood split at the very front, and then you like wrap a couple of things around it, so then you've got like a 3-pronged like stick that you can stab into the, you know. That's what you use to catch the frogs.
Well, apparently, because I just thought it was the funniest conversation when we got home and we're talking to my dad, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well that's not how you prepare them. You know, you gotta do this, you gotta do this." And
you
I'm
have
like,
to spritz them with a little bit of lemon. And...
I'm looking over at him, going, "Who are you? Like, how many frog legs have you eaten?"
Oh man, that's what they used to string together on their Christmas tree.
Oh, it was just such a funny conversation, but it was a really fun experience. I loved it, even though I didn't love eating, especially the frog legs. But like I said, the alligator was pretty good. It was just like, again, I was kind of getting in my head about it, you know, like I knew I was eating something that I don't think should be eaten, but then I ate it and I was like, oh, yeah, that's really good. But it was just like a really fun Everglades experience. And we'll have to post, we do have a picture of like John holding up the frog legs. And they look like frog legs. And so if I think about it, I'll post that on social media so you can see kind of why I was getting a little squirmy when I was trying to, you know, get myself to eat them.
Right. If you ever eat frog legs, you have to remember they're kind of like the chocolate frogs in Harry Potter. You know, even though they're cooked, they still have one good jump in them left.
Oh my gosh.
Just kidding. Not true. So good.
So though. Yeah, but I thought that was really fun. And our kids tried them and we still talk about it. So yes. I think that's like, that to me is a really good experience if like you keep talking about it even years beyond when it happened.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's super cool. That's a great adventure. I think one of the things that I want to share, one of my favorite adventures, has to do with flamingo. The flamingo area of the park is so much fun. When we were down there, that's where you get to see manatees. And I have always wanted to see manatees, and they are so fun. Like, I don't know, they're such a foreign creature to me. And they like to chill out in the marina, you know, but they just kind of like, I don't know, they just kind of swim around and you can see them. And it's just such a fun adventure. And you know, when you see a whale and you can kind of see like their blowhole go up in there, like that's all that you see generally of the manatees in the marina because the water's pretty murky, but you just see like their little noses. It's kind of fun.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time just sitting in that marina watching manatees.
And as they swim around, you walk around the marina with them. It's just so much fun.
It just blew me away that you could literally drive there, park, walk down to the water, and see wild manatees.
Oh yeah, it was so cool. And you'd think that they were tame, or like, you know, they almost seem like birds, you know, where birds like to hang around parking lots because they know people will feed them. But I mean, what do you feed a manatee? Nobody's feeding the manatees. They just like being around people. They're so cool. And they're so fun and unique.
Yeah, I loved that. That was another experience where it was just like, what is this place? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. You're like, well, it already has like alligators and crocodiles and like really pretty, beautiful, big pink birds and, you know, like all this stuff that I just really have never seen before. Yep. And then if you drive all the way down to the end of the park road, you get to Flamingo and like there's manatees.
Yeah, they're just chilling.
Like, how?
We just sat there. We literally just sat on the edge of a dock for like half an hour just watching a manatee breathe. That's all we did for like half an hour. The kids we're like, do you want to leave, kids? Want to go do something else? No, we're just watching an animal breathe. It was so cool, so magical.
Well, and they've been there every time we've gone down there.
Yeah, they're pretty consistent.
Yeah.
They're down there. And, you know, I've found that I'm more passionate about manatees than I realized.
You found another thing.
Found something that I'm more passionate about. And I think I'm on kind of a crusade. I don't know how far this will take me, but I'm on a little bit of a crusade to stop calling manatees sea cows. I think that we should stop doing that, you know, because I think that, I don't know, I feel like every kid during their biology class in middle school or high school has seen something on the Everglades, and they always show like the manatee, and you know, it's this plump little thing, and there's like, it's a sea cow. It just wanders around eating grass all day. And I'm like, you know what? That does not get people excited to go see manatees. Nobody wants to see a cow on their vacation, especially in South. Nobody wants to go to Florida on their Caribbean vacation and is like, you know what? You know what I'm really missing on this vacation? I wish I could see a cow. Nobody wants to see that.
A cow in the sea.
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. It doesn't make it sound cool, like tuna of this, chicken of the sea. It doesn't make it cool. And so I think we should stop calling it a sea cow and call it what it actually looks like. A whale beaver.
What? Actually, when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I want to see one of those.
Exactly. I mean, the face looks more like a walrus, but you don't want to call it a walrus beaver. That's just too many syllables. But a whale beaver really gets the point across. It's got that giant flappy tail. It's pretty round, but it's a whale beaver. I feel like that would get people excited. That would pull them away from alligators.
The truth is that a lot of people love whales.
Yeah. Who's going to go? Let's go whale watching.
Yeah, everybody wants to go whale watching.
Let's go whale beaver watching.
Yeah. It doesn't have quite the same ring, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah. But also, I mean, like, you call somebody a cow, I mean, that's kind of insulting. I feel like that's being a little bit jabbing the manatee. That's a little bit mean. I don't know. I think it's the reason they call them a cow is because it describes their lifestyle a little bit. They just wander around most of the day, eating all the time. But I feel like that describes most people. Especially most people like on vacation in Florida, especially if you go onto the Key West or if you're going to the theme parks or something like that, especially us included. The food is so good down there. Everybody in Florida, in the time between meals, we're all just doing just enough to justify the next meal,
I don't think when we go to Everglades and we're in that area, I don't think that we even are not eating.
Right. We're always eating.
So last time we were down there, we went from the Everglades down to Key West to go to Dry Tortugas. Mm-hmm. And so you drive through the Keys till you get all the way to Key West at the end. Uh-huh. And I mean, literally, we were stopping every half an hour because we kept seeing little food stops along the way.
There's a key lime pie place,
we
or
kept stopping.
Ice cream, or there's a seafood place. We wanted shrimp. There's so much to eat down there.
Well, did we do anything else in the Keys besides eat? No,
not really.
We literally drove that road, and every time we saw something that looked good, we stopped and we ate it.
Yeah, and if we lived down there, we would look that way too. we would look, kind of pudgy, and, when they're already self-conscious about it, we all know how we look. Nobody wants to be called a sea cow or a tourist cow or anything like that. No, we need to take the stigma away.
Yep.
No more sea cow.
You can call them whale beavers, or you could actually just call them manatees, because that's a pretty cool name too.
Manatees is pretty cool. But, I mean, like I said, the reason I'm on this crusade is because I want people to be excited about going to see the manatees. And, when you call it a sea cow, it's just like, you're taking time out of your fun day seeing alligators and crocodiles, and you're going and seeing your chubby uncle, and that's you're going to see your family for an hour. We're going to go see alligators, and then we'll go see your Uncle Alan, and then, we'll go back to the park. No, that's the least fun part of your day. This was my experience, and I thought about this. I was like, okay, so I spent the whole day in Everglades. I'm seeing snakes, I'm seeing frogs, I'm seeing turtles, seeing crocodiles, all these fun, beautiful birds, and then, mixed in a lot of things that could eat me. And then I get down there and I see the manatees, and I'm just like, and then you realize that they're mammals too, and it's just like, oh, you have this connection. It's like we're related. And so maybe you are there to see your fat Uncle Alan, but, it's okay because he's living his best life, and you're just happy for him. And, he's just happy you're there, and you're just happy to be around each other breathing, Manatees are cool. Everybody needs to be excited to see manatees. And rant over, but yes, go see the whale beavers. # whale beaver, no sea cow,
That's a long hashtag.
Let's start that on Instagram.
Maybe I'll post some photos of manatees with that hashtag. We'll see.
Yes. But just their noses, because that's all you can see in Flamingo.
Yeah. The water's pretty dirty. Okay, so speaking of our sea life family, I really love Everglades City.
Uh-huh.
I think it's super cool.
Uh-huh.
And we went down there this last, no, it wasn't the last time, the time before that. And we did a ranger-led boat tour.
Yes.
Out into the 10,000 Islands. And
cool.
We saw dolphins.
Oh, yes. And they follow you around and jump in the surf.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yes.
I love dolphins. I love dolphins so much.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, mammals that you should be excited about.
When you first said sea family, I was like, where's she going with this? I forgot you were talking about mammals.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, dolphins are mammals.
They are. And they're so cool. And it was so much fun. So that area is totally different than the rest of the Everglades.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say like the town there is probably my favorite town by the Everglades.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the best Everglades specific town.
It's not very close to like the main Everglades stuff that you do.
Right.
And so we don't usually stay there. It's really cute.
Mm-hmm.
They've got lots of little shops and stuff. They've got some really good seafood restaurants. And it's a fun little town.
Mm-hmm.
But from there, you really there's nowhere, you don't really go into the Everglades hardly at all. You drive down in there, you're just like on this really short road that ends at like the visitor center and the marina. But you can take boat tours from there. There's also
airboat tours from there too.
Yeah, but those ones aren't in the Everglades.
Right. That's true. Good point.
But yeah, and so we went down there and we took the 10,000 Islands boat tour, which is a ranger-led boat. And so that was really fun. And they take you around and the scenery is completely different than the rest of the Everglades. In the 10,000 Islands, there's just islands everywhere and you learn more about the mangroves and the importance of the mangroves in that area and stuff like that. But then you're out in the ocean, and so you get to see ocean life. And yeah, we had so much fun watching the dolphins follow the boat and surf in the wake and stuff. It was so fun.
It's really cool. Plus, a lot of those islands, if you listened to the episode, the Fun Facts episode, talking about kind of the Native American history there, some of those islands are the islands that were made by the Native Americans with shells.
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't you tell me that when we were seeing them?
Because that's the job of the park ranger, and he did tell you that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. I actually think, I don't know if it's the name of the area. It's north of Everglades City, the Marco Island or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that is also made by shells.
Made by shells? I know it has lots of shells.
Right. I could be incorrect, and I could be corrected. Leave us a comment if I'm wrong. But I'm pretty sure.
All these people that visit Naples and Marco Island and stuff are like, no, they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. But no, these Native Americans, they expanded their territory by making their own islands. And so those islands in the 10,000 Islands area are made by Native Americans using shells.
Okay, well, I really liked that area. I think it's fun to explore. I think it gives you a different look because I feel like, from Flamingo. So Flamingo, you're down at the very bottom of the Everglades and you're right on the coast. But I felt and I do love Flamingo.
Yeah.
But I think if you're wanting to get out into the ocean and, see the ocean part of the Everglades, I like Everglades City, that area better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too.
But that boat tour was super fun. And the captain was really nice. He let our kids drive the boat for a minute. And they were just happy as a clam. They were so excited.
Yeah. Oh, it was a great boat ride. And all the scenery was really pretty. You learn a lot. You can see quite a bit of birds. And you can see the double-breasted cormorant. I think you can see the anhingas. A lot of times they'll stand on kind of these big wooden, I don't know what you would call them.
They were like the markers, so you knew where you were.
Yeah. They stand up there.
I don't
and
know
they
what
kinda,
they're called.
Yeah, exactly. They dry off their wings and they just kind of sit there and keep their wings open. And you can see a lot of these gorgeous birds. It's really pretty.
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite experiences. I really liked that area. I liked taking the boat tour. There's so many different programs and tours that you can do in the Everglades. And so, when you get online and start looking at them, you have so many options.
Right.
But that one was really fun for me.
Yeah, I love those too. One of my last adventures that I thought was so much fun was, I don't know if it was super fun like as I was doing it, but like more as I recollect, the more that I learn about the Everglades, the more I realize how special some of those hiking trails are. And so I loved hiking in the Everglades, and because it was so much fun, like going on the Gumbo Limbo Trail, that's where it feels a little bit more like a swamp and the trees are really thick around you. And, I think we saw a couple of snakes and a couple of lizards on that trail, which are a little bit harder to spot sometimes when you're on some of the watery sections of the walkways. What do you call them?
The boardwalks. The
boardwalks, yeah. Plus, I just felt like I was Frodo Baggins and Sam with Gollum while they're making their way through the mists of the dead marshes. I don't know. I thought that was so cool.
On the Gumbo Limbo Trail?
Yeah. Well, I was like, or especially on the Mahogany Hammock Trail, like that one, I felt like, oh man, this is so cool. I felt like at any moment I was going to have to duck under a tree because the Nazgul were looking for me in the ring, It was just so fun.
See, sometimes I just I don't understand where your brain goes while we're hiking. I feel like you don't tell me any of these things and you're just off in your own little movie while you're hiking around on these trails.
So usually, because of the way that we travel, a lot of times Ash is, she's holding the camera and taking pictures and getting, some fun shots with the camera. And I'm holding the boys' hands and hiking along and generally talking to them and telling them stories and things like that. And so my imagination kind of gets to run wild a little bit. So
it's just so funny to me. It's every single time we talk about experiences in the park, you're like, and it reminded me of being in this movie. So I think that's funny.
Oh man, it's true. Well, it's just I don't know. I was thinking about Gollum. I could totally do my Gollum voice. It's just going through the dead marshes. Orcs don't know it. They go around for miles and miles.
And then, what is it? A hand pops up or something?
Sam, it's a bug! Don't follow the lights.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, my nerdiness.
That's so funny. I have one really short story and then another one. Okay. So first, we have to mention the birds in Everglades because that's a big thing.
Right.
But here's the thing. I do not have the patience to look for birds and to watch birds. Mm-hmm. I've never been a good bird watcher, but the Everglades has some really cool ones. Mm-hmm. Actually, my problem is sometimes you'll hear the bird chirping and then you'll stop and get out your binoculars and try to find where it is in the tree and stuff. That's what I don't do well. Mm-hmm. But if it's just sitting in a pond, a lot of them are in Everglades, then it's oh, cool, a bird, And so I just wanted to mention, there's so many different ponds as you're driving down to Flamingo, mm-hmm. and you never know what you're going to see. Certain ponds kind of favor certain bird populations and stuff. But we stopped at one and we watched a pelican fish for a long time.
Yeah.
And he was just circling the pond, and then he'd dip his head back down, he'd come up, and his whole mouth would be full of a fish. Mm-hmm. And then we'd watch him. He'd swim around, and then he'd start to, because they swallow him whole, right? And so you could see it going down its neck. this fish going down its neck, and then he'd keep circling, and then he'd get another one. And I don't know, we did that for probably a half an hour.
Oh yeah, it was so crazy to see their neck. It really was like on Finding Nemo when his dad Marlin is lodged in the pelican's throat. I'm not going down.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so much fun to watch. So I really loved that. Mm-hmm. I do appreciate the birds. I'm just not so good at waiting around and trying to figure out what they are and stuff, but it was really fun, and it was really fun activity with the kids too. They were super excited.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was super cool. The last thing that I have on mine is an adventure we have not done, but I want to do.
Okay.
In the Everglades. Okay. And so I've talked to you about this, and
I think I know what you're going to say.
You showed 0% interest in this adventure.
Yeah, I know what you're going to say.
Okay, so in the Everglades, they have some hiking trails, but they also have, you can kind of muck through the mud a little bit, but that's not what I wanted to do. They have 100 miles of canoeing trails and waterways.
Oh, so you don't want to go sluice logging?
No, I don't want to go sluice logging.
That sounds terrifying to me.
No, that sounds awful. And like all of the fake grass, the sausage, the sawgrass will cut you up. You know?
But you wear like special things and stuff, but the rangers will take you through the water hiking around.
Yeah.
I thought you were totally going to say you wanted to do that. And I was like, I don't know. That's where it's like, for me, you're just inviting yourself to get like bitten by a water snake or like eaten by an alligator.
Right. You're going to just stumble upon something.
Yeah.
No, that sounds risky. No, yeah, there are a lot of people that do that, and they have some specific areas where you can go slewing. Is that what they call it? But no, what I want to do, from Everglades City down towards like Flamingo, they have like 100 miles of like specific tracks where you can take your canoe. You can go, some of it's along the 10,000 Islands areas. But the part that I'm really excited about, the canoe trail cuts inland a little bit, if you can say that about the Everglades. It cuts inland, and there's this area called Whitewater Bay and like the Midway Keys. And there's no trails. There's like no roads. And I just imagine like that area has got to be where you'll find like the giant alligators, and you'll find the giant, creatures that, I don't know, like the movie Anaconda, that's where all the cool stuff is going to be, because there's no people there. And I just think that's where I want to go with a canoe. And I could spend like 5 days, and they have all these little backcountry camping spots that you can camp at with the family or whatever. And I just think that would be so much fun to go along that route and to see all the super cool animals. And I bet you there's stuff in there that hasn't even been discovered yet, man.
That sounds scary too. It sounds cool.
Once the sun goes down and it's dark, who knows what's coming at the water.
And I think like I'm still harboring a fear of alligators a little bit, because like just being like camping or like sleeping unprotected in a land of alligators just sounds so frightening to me. But I would do it. I'll do it. I'll be brave. I won't get in my head. I'll do it.
Cool.
Okay, I have one more story, and this story pretty much has nothing to do with the Everglades. So save the best for last, I guess. Okay, so when we flew into Miami, so we went to the Everglades last January or February, I think. Anyway, we've gone within this past year. And we flew into Miami, and we got into our rental car, and the radio was blasting, and it was like 1 a.m. And
I love that we're going to talk about this.
The radio was blasting, and it was on Spanish radio, and it was this super catchy song that I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? I love this. And we're all just like, bopping to the beat as we're driving to our hotel at 1 a.m. And I didn't think anything else of it. And then the next day, we got in the car and we were driving down to the Everglades. It's like an hour from Miami to get down there. And this song came on the radio again. We hadn't changed the radio station. We're just listening to Spanish radio. And this song comes on again. And I don't speak a lick of Spanish. Like, I can barely remember, the word for thank you. So, but I love this song, and it's all in Spanish, and I'm trying to pick out words so that I can stick it into Google so I can figure out what this song is. And I think I didn't do it that first drive down to the Everglades, and then I think we were going up to Shark Valley, so that's like another drive from where we were staying. And anyway, in the course of like I had heard the song maybe like 4 or 5 times on the radio, and I still didn't know what it was. And then I finally figured it out. And guess what? It was Ricky Martin. I was so excited.
We love you, Ricky.
And so the song is here. So I'm going to tell you this because when you're in the area, it is just so much fun to, we've talked about in our favorites episode, like how much we love the culture of the Miami area and how much you can, eat from culture to culture and stuff. But like the music is part of it. I mean, it's just part of the experience. And so the song is Cancion Bonita. And it's Ricky Martin and Carlos Vives. And it is so catchy and so fun. Like we literally, so by the end of that trip, because we were in Florida, I think for like a week. By the end of that trip, we literally had just played that song, and then we had to mix in Despacito, just like so that we would not have that song over and over and over. But like we would go between Canción Bonita and Despacito, and literally that's all we listened to the whole time we were in the car. And I love it because like we're driving and our kids are singing in Spanish
what they think is Spanish,
and they have no idea what they're saying. Like the words are not right, but they think they're speaking in Spanish. And we're all just like singing at the top of our lungs to this Ricky Martin song.
So good. Oh my gosh, I absolutely loved it. It was the funniest thing. And if you were to like turn off the volume on the radio and just have us recorded singing, it would sound so ridiculous, but it was so much fun
because none of us speak Spanish.
And you would think that we would mix in like some Shakira or something like that, but no, it was literally Despacito and Canción Bonita for like half an hour on the way back to the airport, and we just listened to it on loop.
Yeah, it was awesome. And we kept the station on the Spanish radio. And then also we came back and you started your own Canción Bonita radio station on Pandora.
Yes.
So you've been listening to all this Spanish music for like 8 months.
Yeah, it's so great. I love it because I speak a little bit of Spanish, but not enough to understand anything. And so it's great background music, you know?
Yeah, we have no idea what they're saying. But yeah, I just like that. To me, I will always equate that song to the Everglades and, you know, that South Florida area because we listened to it so much, but it made the trip so much fun.
Yes.
Listening to my beloved Ricky Martin, who I grew up loving. My mom loves Ricky.
Named a vehicle after.
Yeah.
And so he's been a big part of our life. and he's a big part of the Everglades. And so we just ask that on your trip to the Everglades, you know, play some Ricky Martin. Do it for the environment.
So anyway, that's a peek into what our trips to the Everglades look like. I mean, that was such a fun part of our trip last time, but we have great trips to the Everglades. Like, I feel like every time we go back, we try something new. I'm slowly working my way into feeling more comfortable with some things like sluice logging or backcountry camping in that area. You know, I'll get there. I did the airboat. So, you know, I got over my fear of that. But yeah, just like, we'll keep going back. We'll keep doing more things. But really, like, whatever type of adventure you're looking for, you'll find it there.
Thanks for exploring the national parks with us.
Please share, like, and subscribe. And if you need any help planning your own trip, click on over to dirtmyshoes.com.
See you next week. Same time, same place.
And don't forget to get some dirt in your shoes.